Welcome back to the Owner Seat Podcast, the show where operators, founders, franchisors, and franchisees, leaders get the real playbook for building businesses that don't crack under pressure. Today's guest is someone I wanted on the show because fitness and wellness businesses don't just win by having a great brand. They win by having the right leaders in the right seats when growth gets heavy. Kip Knippel is the president and CEO of KIP Search, a retained executive search firm placing high-impact CEOs, FOs, and COOs and leadership operators for private equity-backed and high-growth companies. His background spans M&A, mergers and acquisitions, commercial real estate, executive recruiting, and leadership advisory. And his entire thesis is simple. Design beats talent when the organization starts scaling. He's also the founder of The Arena, a leadership network redefining executive recruiting, and the host, and I love this podcast, you got to check it out, Capitalist Culture, where he interviews investors and operators on how real businesses scale. So we're going to jump right in. This is for the fitness and wellness owners who are tired of hiring the good enough leaders and paying for it later. If you're feeling like every decision has to be run through them, watching growth stall because leadership execution isn't scaling, confusing harmony with alignment, and finally realizing too late that the organizational chart isn't the real power structure that you need. Kip, so excited to chat with you. Welcome to the Owner Seat Podcast, sir.
Oh, Albert, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored and super excited to chat with you. Thank you.
I'm so pumped. I've been following your podcast for quite some time. You have just some heavy hitters like I do right now on your show. And it's been really cool to see how you've built this ecosystem and all of the connections. You're busy. I've been following your posts, and you just seem to be connected with a lot of great people that I'm familiar with in different industries. So I can't wait to learn more about you. I can't wait the audience to learn more about you. So let's jump right in. I mean, I was curious, what was the earliest sign that you were looking for that you found when a founder is becoming the bottleneck? Even if things are going great, revenue's growing, but you just happen to see and observe, we have an issue here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is when everything has to flow through the founder. Like all the decisions have to be made by the founder. You know, they're the last stop for everything, whether it's sales or marketing or finance. You know, when they just, micromanaging is kind of an obvious thing, but just when like the ultimate decision has to flow through that person and you're just, bottlenecked or choked out when that person, as you talked about, I mean, just people are busy, especially founders running the business. And if everything has to flow through you, that's a really big sign that something needs to change or you can't grow.
It's a tough pivot point because I've been there too, where you need to wear multiple hats in the beginning, right? If you're over hiring and you're burning cash, that's not necessarily the right thing to do, especially in the beginning, right? Where do you find that pivot point? When is it like, okay, in order for us to really be effective, I need to start delegating. I need to start hiring people that can cover my six. That's not a great strength or skill set of mine. I can't do everything. I can't do marketing and ops and finance and et cetera, right? So where do you find that pivot? Is it in the beginning and we're just thinking about it wrong? Or is this somewhere along the way at a certain revenue point or certain unit count, portfolio count? What do you see as best?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so as an example, we run our firm on EOS.
Oh, I love it.
Which stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and Traction's the book that, kind of championed that. And we have a lot of clients on EOS. And that's a good framework to use, what we're talking about. Like usually leaders or founders are visionaries, and to use EOS terms, like the big ideas, you're coming up with a million ideas all the time and you love the big ideas, but you don't love the details. And then again, in EOS terms, there's an integrator, which is usually like a president or a COO. And that's the person that loves the day-to-day. They love creating systems and processes and procedures and taking all these crazy ideas that the visionary founder has and then prioritizing them. Like, which ones can we actually do? And then what's the most important in making all that happen? Now, usually when you start a business, again, I'm using EOS terms, but this is just a good way to frame it. You as the founder are the visionary and the integrator. You're coming up with the ideas and you're implementing them and you're doing both. But usually you have an inclination, like you really like one or the other. And you kind of do it for as long as you can. And then you get to the point where there is no certain revenue number or product count or things like that. You can just kind of feel it. Like we're stagnant. Like every second of every waking day is occupied as the founder with working on the business. And then you come to the realization, I need to work on the business, not in the business. And people get to that at certain points too. But when it gets to the point that you can just kind of feel I can't, or we as an organization can't grow beyond my personal capacity to do the work. And again, everyone comes to that conclusion at different times. But then a little mindset shift is, because people think I can do everything the best. I founded the business, I know everything,
Yeah.
but you
It's my
need
baby.
to shift your mind a little bit in that I'm going to empower, someone to do marketing or operations or things, and I can't expect them to work as hard as I do because they don't own
Mm,
it. They're
yeah.
not the owner, and I can't expect them to do 100% perfect accuracy, which nobody can, but, like, ratchet it down, like, 70% or 80%, and you know that if you delegate, it's not gonna be perfect, and to use a book, so Dan Martell's book, I don't know if you've
Oh,
read
yeah, yeah.
this,
I
Buy
watch
Back Your
him. Yeah.
Time. I mean, he talks about, you know, 80% right and 100% done. You hire someone and they can do it 80% right, but it's 100% done is better than you than not done.
Right.
So if you empower your people and not expect perfection and not expect them to do as well as you do, but there's a certain standard that you hold people to, that's the only way to scale is to empower other people and and you really want smarter people around you, like someone that's
Right.
better at marketing than you are, or better at sales, or better at finance, or better at whatever it is. You hear just great leaders surround themselves with people that are smarter and better than they are at whatever the specialty is.
Mhm.
And again, that comes at different stages of different businesses, and it's very nuanced, but the only way to scale beyond you as the owner is to add people. And you can start on a contract basis or a fractional basis and move into full-time people. And there's a million ways to use AI and other things to help augment you. But you just need to get beyond yourself,
Yeah. I love that. I
which is
can't wait
hard
to
to do
come
for
back.
founders because, yeah.
It is. You got to give up a little bit, right? And a lot of the audience here today are either franchisors that are continuing to expand or franchisees that are getting into the multi-unit or a multi-unit gym, fitness, longevity clinic owners. And I'm curious from your perspective, because you spent a lot of time with organizations and the C-suite, a lot of the decision makers. So as you're going through, we always hear this growing pains. You're going to go through growing pains as you're thinking about scaling or expanding. I like to slow things down, but I'm curious from your perspective, once you get to that pivot point when you feel like, okay, we're starting to burst at the seams a little bit, is the first issue that's in the way the people aspect, in your opinion? Is it the systems, as you were mentioning earlier, or is it the decision, the delegation, and who's actually making decisions and speed? What do you
Yeah,
find?
it's a very good question. And we always talk about with our clients and internally within our organization, momentum. You need to create momentum, which actually is the hardest part, going from zero to creating momentum. And then once you get momentum going, you want to sustain that momentum, which is kind of the fun part.
Mm,
And then on the other end, you don't want the momentum to get out of control. Like you hear of businesses that scale so fast that they disintegrate and go away. So
yeah.
you want to create the momentum, keep it going, but not get it out of control. And so it's hard as a founder to create systems all by yourself. I mean, unless that's what you love to do, but you can't spend all day creating systems and not running the business. So
Mhm.
that's where delegation comes in and trying to get good people around you that can help create those systems. But the systems are key for scaling. Like you
Yeah.
can't scale without systems. You think of like Atomic Habits, and to quote
It's
another
a good one.
book,
Yeah, it's a
it's
good
not
one.
about the habits, but it is putting systems in place to make the habits
Mm,
happen. And you plug that into your business. And again, Dan Martell's book that I just showed, I mean, it's putting systems in place.
yeah.
But you have to, someone's got to document the systems. You got to pressure test them. You got to make sure that they're repeatable, which takes people.
Hmm.
So to answer your question super directly, it really depends on where you are and what you're doing.
Well, it depends on the design, and you talk a lot about
Right.
that. I follow your posts, and it's shifted my mindset a bit because I've always been about A player, A player, A player, and you're saying, hey, yes, A player, but hold on, there's something even more important is that organizational structure, that quote unquote power structure. So a couple of questions about that I had for you is what is that? And you talk a lot about misaligned power structure, right, within organizations. And especially when you're multi-unit, that can really hurt you. And then you also talk about how even if you have A plus players, but you have the wrong organizational design or org chart, it may not go as smoothly as you think. You may not have the dream team like Rodman and Jordan and Pippen, right? You might think you have them on the roster, but you don't have them in the right potential roles or making the right decisions, or there's maybe the decision flow is just not correct. Can you walk us
Yeah.
through that around just all things design? I was really curious about asking you that.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is you can't. as the founder, when you design your org, I mean, everyone can't report to you.
Mhm.
You can't have
I see that
15
a lot.
direct reports. I
Yeah.
mean, that just doesn't work. You can't
Yeah.
possibly control that. And again, when you're starting out small, your CFO, your COO, your president is reporting to you, your chief marketing officer. But as you create some scale, then you need to like separate yourself from that. Again, so you're working on the business,
Mm.
not in it, and not everything's has to again flow through you to make decisions. And you want to empower your people in their disciplines to make decisions. And you can set a criteria. Like as an example, we talk about with our organization, you have authorization to spend, X amount of dollars without asking me. Just like if you want to do something for business development or marketing, up until a certain threshold, just you can spend the money. You have full authorization. But if it's over, let's just use round numbers. Like if it's below $10,000, just
Mhm.
go for it. If it's 10,000 or more, let's talk about it.
Right.
And then I'll probably say yes, but just tell me first and let's talk about it. But anything below that, or maybe it's $500 in your business, whatever it is, just empowering your people to spend money if because they're on the ground, seeing the opportunities. You're talking about multi units, multi locations. They're with the customers or the clients there. They know on the ground. Give them some power to spend some money or do certain things without even asking you, and then just set a certain threshold. So if it's above that, then they can engage with you.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
like that a lot.
and you wanna I don't know, it depends on the business, but you don't wanna have so many layers of reporting and things like that in a small business, it kills you. You wanna be able to move fast, pivot quick,
Mm.
but be mindful of the decisions you're making, and surrounding yourself with the right A players makes that a whole lot easier.
And let's talk about that, the ability to move fast, right? And make decisions quick, especially when you have the financial data. But you work a lot with private equity, and I've been saying it, 2026, we're starting to see the cycle pick up again, where many of those listening today, you will have private equity in your backyard. I see what EOS is up to and some of these other brands. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see that because we'll be impacting more people within the community. But there's going to be some either competition or they'll be knocking at your door to do some due diligence and
Mhm.
potentially get you to exit. And I've been challenging people, if you don't have your ducks in a row, that's a nice little haircut to what you feel, not what it should be, what you feel like your sales price should be. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, spending time with a lot of the leadership group and placing a lot of the executive leaders within private equity. What's your advice to the audience around just preparation around that org structure? What are they looking for when they're looking at org design, founder, and maybe some of those that came on board initially, or they started to surround themselves, like you're saying, with some top players? How does that look like? You talk a lot about systems too. What would you recommend to the audience that they just get their ducks in a row, as I was mentioning earlier?
Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing is that private equity looks at is can this business survive and thrive without the founder? Like you just take
Mhm.
that person out. Usually they'll keep you around for a certain period of time, but if that person's gone, does the business still not only sustain itself, but continue to
Mhm.
grow? So I mean, that's the number one thing. And we do a lot with companies that are wanting to sell to private equity, like that's their plan,
Mm.
but starting maybe 2 years before that. And in fact, I
I
just talked
love
to
that.
someone
Yeah.
yesterday. So it's a really large restaurant group in the United States. And we're talking about either selling to private equity right now at X, which is probably the lowest number they're going to get, or should we get a new president in there for the whole restaurant group and then have a strategy over the next 2 years to grow EBITDA, get things to a certain point, and then talk to the private equity. And then you could probably, we think conservatively, double the sale price from where they are now, if
Amazing.
not more. So, I mean, it's having a strategy and thinking ahead of time to put as you said, your ducks in a row and
Mhm.
place things in a way that will be enticing and exciting for your ultimate buyer, whether it's private equity or a strategic or someone like that.
Yeah.
And I just to talk in the fitness area. So I know the founder of Snap Fitness who sold to private equity,
Yeah.
Anytime Fitness that's sold out. I mean, I'm a huge like Lifetime Fitness person, and they've gone public and private
Right.
15,000 different times. Um, and I think private equity likes the fitness space. We talk about longevity clinics. I'm going to have someone on my podcast here in a couple of weeks that's bringing stem cells in
Love
the
it.
US into longevity clinics and other clinics. And
Can't wait.
that's going to be super interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
I
I need
think
it
that
for
longevity
my lower
space,
back. Just if
yeah,
you could put a referral in. It's
you
like
and me both.
I'm
I
like,
know.
man.
That's the spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was playing football in college, I had a discectomy. So
Oh yeah. They
L5S1 where
went
they cut
in.
part of my disc out. I
Ooh.
was still able to play football for 2 more years. So, I
Oh
mean,
really?
but I still
Do
do
you have to
like
do
my
the
exercises every
do you
day
have to
to
do
protect.
the shots, like, to make sure, like, just to maintain, or
No,
were you
like,
good?
in fact, they say don't do that.
Oh,
Like,
really?
that's bad. Like, I still do the exercises. I mean, this is
Okay.
many years ago that I played
Yeah.
college football, but every day I still do those exercises to protect my back, but
Mm,
the stem cell thing, it's
amazing.
basically a miracle. I've not
Yeah.
done it yet, but, I mean, like, people say I talked to a guy that played basketball for the Minnesota Gophers, and then he's played over in Europe and, other countries for many, many years professionally, and he's injured his knee a million times, and the best he could get it was maybe 60 or 70% healed, and then he did the stem cells, and he said it was like
Mhm.
90, 95%, like,
Amazing.
just like that.
I can't wait where,
Yeah,
it becomes more mainstream, the price comes down
totally.
and more people have
Yeah,
access to it. But,
yeah,
I've read a couple, I think one of Tony Robbins' recent books were all around just longevity and health, and he brought up a
yes,
lot around stem cells. It was really an interesting read.
yeah.
I'm
But that
loving the
stem
peptide.
that whole longevity clinic space, I mean,
It's awesome.
that's huge, like, for
Yeah.
your audience that's in that, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, we just had Bob Thomas on from NextGen MD Scientific, and the fact that you don't need to go knock down, your walls and spend, quite a bit of money and raise capital to build out a clinic in your gym or studio. You now have digital storefronts, right? And what you're able to do with technology and, your MD or nurse practitioner on your device digitally, and then you get your GLPs, your peptides, your hormone replacement, and soon to be stem cell. It's amazing. And when we talk
Uh-huh.
about, we've been talking about preventative, right? Proactive for a long time. We haven't had the means, right? And we obviously didn't have the backing of, no disrespect to like big pharma. There's a room and a place for that, but it was illness, sick care, right? It wasn't necessarily health or preventative care. Now we have it at our fingertips at home in a virtual space as well
Right.
that can be delivered to you. It's so crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to that design piece, I'm curious, as you think about, you're mentioning a large portfolio of restaurants. I mean, and I think I might have asked this already, right? We talked people, systems, decision making, but what do you find is the most expensive leadership gap? I'm thinking, is it the general manager? Is that chief operating officer? Is that CFO? What do you find as you kind of look at the sample size of all the businesses that you've spent time with? When you see that missing leader, you're like, oh, that's a toughie. You're going to have a tough run for the long term because you don't have that role. And I know every role is different in its own ways. I'm just curious if you've seen enough data to say it's finance or it's ops or it's, the head honcho, or I don't know if you can say hancha, but you know what I mean? The head leader for the CEO. Which one is it?
Yeah. I mean, usually it's either finance or operations. I
Hmm.
mean, you need a really good operator and someone really good at finance, not just like closing the books, but someone that can think strategically and has relationships with banks and lenders and, you know, equity people, if that's your thing. But like those relationships are so important. And so many businesses fail because just their finances are screwed up,
Right.
even though it's a great, amazing business, but they just don't have a great person doing the finance. And then again, operations. If you don't have a great operator and someone that really understands your business, your industry, operating things, that could be trouble. But then,
Yeah.
you talk about the head honcho or hancha CEO. I mean, if that person's, I mean, that's the death nail. If that person's
Right.
wrong, and they're
Yeah.
usually the founder. Again, they can get it to a certain point, but you just have to have the humility
Mm.
to say, "Yes, I've gotten us to be a $10 million business, but I don't know what I don't know to get to 50 million or 100 million.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to get some people around me or even hire a full-time CEO or president so I can, think more strategically, be involved, but like someone that knows, someone that's been there and done that. You talk about
Mm.
the arena that we launched, someone that knows how to take a $20 million business and take it to 50, or someone that's at 50 that knows how to take it to 100 or 500. I mean, that's a skill set
Mm.
that's different than, 0 to 5 million or 5 to 20. I mean, those are different skill sets. And so you need people, not only a great operator or a great CFO, but someone that knows how to be the CFO and take things to the next level, or be the
Yeah.
operator and take things to the next level. Cause those are very, very different skill sets, even though it's the same subject matter.
So I was curious about this, right? Because you probably, I can't imagine how many people you and your team chat with on a daily, weekly, and throughout the year, especially when you're vetting. I mean, to protect your brand, I mean, you're sending the best, right? You have a great reputation. well known, right? Throughout all of these different organizations and private equity, they come to you because you know and you will find the best. Your team will. So I'm curious with this technology and AI, man,
Mm.
it's a lot easier to throw whatever you want on an email, on a resume, cover letter, what have you. And so I'm curious, as you and the team are vetting out, how do you search for judgment? Because I think things are becoming so easy. People don't necessarily, if you're using it this way, don't necessarily need to critically think. Well, if you don't need to think and you're not having to make your own decision and test your judgment or your decisiveness, that can, I mean, that's a muscle you need to continue to strengthen
Right.
over time, right? I call leadership, it's like golf, right? You're just constantly adjusting that grip. But if you're not adjusting that grip and you're not having to, that's kind of scary. And especially when an organization is looking for the right person, if you just, I can't imagine what you all see, but if you just, rely on paper or a LinkedIn profile, right? How do you know that they're the type, like you were giving an example right now, they're the type that's going to take it from 20 to 55 plus, and they could actually scale it versus someone that it's just going to be a repeat kind of placeholder. They'll manage the business. It's not going to go backwards, but they don't have that X factor. How do you determine?
Yeah. I mean, the easiest thing is receipts. Have they done it before?
Yeah.
And show us. But we spend a lot of time like actually talking to people. Not, I mean, we try to leverage technology in AI and things, but ours is such a high level type of search we're doing that you
Hmm.
can't just like, it's not entry level people that AI can run the whole thing.
Right, right.
We don't ever want to lose that super human touch, really high end, white glove service. But so throughout our process, the candidates go through, it's really rigorous, and a lot of it is spending time either in person or over Zoom or on the phone, like, talking to us, and we're asking questions, and one differentiator we have is we have this candidate questionnaire that the candidates fill out and get back to us before we do it, like a deep dive conversation with them, where we're really talking to them. Why are you interested in our client company specifically?
Hmm.
Why are you interested in this role? What have you actually done, in XYZ?
Hmm.
And really get a whole feel for like personally, professionally, culture fit wise, core value wise, again, why are they interested before we ever, have the deep dive conversation with them. And frankly, candidates like that because it triggers a lot of things in their mind, it lets them think
Sure.
through answers.
Yeah.
But we can tell if someone uses AI to like try to answer that stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
that doesn't work. But
Yeah.
but we're spending time like with them, like we are now, like actually talking.
Right.
And
Just constantly
And
assessing.
A players, like, they wanna be challenged. They want to do something new, something they've never done before. They don't wanna do the same thing over and over again. And to talk about private equity as an example too, a private equity CFO or COO is different than someone that wants to go and work in a, 30-year-old business or a third generation business where they're just slowly, steadily growing. It's a
Hmm.
different skill set to say, I'm coming in now, in 3 to 5 years, we're gonna sell and we're gonna do it over again. And people that like that, where it's just like a sprint, have an exit, maybe take 6 months off, recharge, do it again. Like that's a different skill set. It's a different type of candidate, a different
Yeah.
person. And you only know that by spending time with people and talking to them and really, really getting to know them on a professional level, but on a personal level too.
Yeah.
And it's just asking good questions.
Yeah, I love that. And as I've been listening to your podcast, one of the things that it reminded me of, speaking of books, Good to Great, right? Jim Collins,
Yes.
and he talks about level 5 leadership. And I think I don't know how many episodes I've watched now, but I was remembering after watching one of them, I'm like, man, Kip must have so much data, and especially as you think about who you've placed and the winners, right? So much data on some of the similarities amongst the people you've placed, right, that have crushed it. What I mean, do you have that readily available, or if you think about it kind of on the fly right now, what are some of those traits that those that you place, those executive leaders that just like you're saying, those A players, like what are some of the things that they have in common?
Yeah. I mean, one big one, I mean, they have extreme confidence, but also extreme humility. Like, but as I said earlier, they want to be challenged. They want to be uncomfortable, be out of their depth. They don't want to just be safely working in the same thing and slowly growing a business or doing the same thing they've done before. They want to, whether it's going into a totally different industry, and applying their skill, or, a totally different, size of company or geography or global. They want to be stretched and challenged and pushed, and they
Hmm.
want to continue, and they just like seek growth like their whole life. Like they're continuous learners. They're continuous growers. They want to like just expand their capacity and they're just
Mhm.
hungry for that. And you can tell when you talk to people if they're that way. And they're always talking about the future, not the
Mm.
past,
Yeah.
not the present. They're focused on the future. Like, what can we do? What can I do as a person? How can I push my limits? Help a company push its limits. And they're just hungering for growth and learning and expansion. It's just you can tell within a couple minutes usually of talking to someone if they're wired that way.
Yeah.
And those are the real true A players.
I love that.
And they're never
So
running
good.
away from anything too. They're always running to things and they're curious and
Sounds like they're a little crazy. It sounds like they when you were explaining the private equity kind of 6 month, 8 month, or what have you, or up to exit and then 6 months off. It's like,
I mean,
yeah,
that's an example. I mean, not
that's the guy.
necessarily
No,
that
I
people
know,
do
I
that right
know,
away,
I
but
know.
it's
That's
a I
awesome.
mean, yeah, it's a different type of person versus I'm just gonna be the steward of this business
Yeah.
for the next 30 years. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them. They're just different types of people.
I like what you said earlier. I had Michael Yanuzzi from Citron Cooperman on the show. I think it releases here soon. And we were talking a lot about Q of E, right? Just everything going into your eventual exit. And it's not an overnight thing. To your point, it's like you need to start 2 years earlier, 3 years earlier. And I love that you chatted about that. I think many listening to this really need to narrow in on what is your design? What is your org chart? Who do you have operating, right, the organization with you, but you, not, to your point, not in the weeds as the founder, being able to be that strategic partner, and you have some others that you lean on, whether it's finance, ops, marketing, etc. So we talked about the bottleneck being the friction point. You talk a lot about that friction. You got to remove the friction because it kills, you said it earlier, momentum. If you want momentum and you want to scale and you want to keep growing and expanding, you have to find the friction point. So you mentioned the bottleneck piece, and is there anything else that you've seen as you're consulting other organizations? Like, whoa, there's another one. There's something that is just stalling you all out. Is that the tech stack? Is that, you know, whatever else it might be? What have you found to be some of those top ones where you're just like, yep, you'll never be able to get past this certain point.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna plateau if
Yeah.
you don't fix this.
Yeah, I mean, technology is definitely one. I mean, it's being big picture, it's decisions. You need
Mm,
to make decisions, make them decisively and quickly with the information you have. Like if you can't do that, you can't create momentum, you can't grow, you can't move. And you can't get decision fatigue. I mean, it's that the job of the CEO founder is to make a decision
yeah.
with the best information you have. And you can always change your mind and pivot and because that's what you're going to do. And the thought that like you ever quote make it and now things are going to be comfortable and easy and there's going to be no problems or you're going to feel totally satisfied. And maybe that's not the right word. It just never happens. No matter, and I've been with,
Yeah.
you talked about Tony Robbins. People like Tony Robbins, like they're never satisfied or just they never feel like they've made it.
Right.
As high as you rise, financially or whatever the metric is, it's never over. You've never figured it out.
Yeah.
That's the big secret. Like you never figure out the world of the entrepreneur is like you just figure out the next problem and problems get bigger and different but you're always just figuring it out and with the best information you have. But if you
Yeah.
can't make a decision and you're waiting for, and I heard this analogy the other day, especially for this founder CEO, you are the only one that has all the information and knows everything.
Mm,
And if you try to, have your team, which is good, I mean, you want people's input and thoughts. But if you expect your team to make the decision for you or you're waiting for consensus, well,
yes.
they don't have all the information, only you do. So you get their counsel, you share, what you can, but then you have to decide and make a decision and move forward, whether it's, using a new technology or integrating AI into something, or we're going to
Hmm.
open this new location or whatever it is, you need to make decisions and make them quickly, calculated risk. You don't want to be reckless, but you have to decide and not wait around. Like that's what
Yeah.
kills, giant companies. That's why like small, nimble startups have, that's their advantage is they can move quick, they can pivot, they can see opportunities and pounce on those. And these big giant companies, when they get so big, it's so hard for them to steer the ship and make a change. And that's why some of the biggest, greatest companies in history go out of business because
Yeah.
they couldn't shift to what the market
Like that
wanted.
you like that you said that, because my fear earlier, I was even thinking about it as everyone's hearing, hey, you cannot be the bottleneck. You have to surround yourself with great people, A+ people that can make decisions so that you can strategically run the business and not allow it to run you, right? Because that's just, you're headed for a big, nice wall. But the flip side too is this isn't a consensus game, right? And like people will go to the other extreme. All right, well, let's get everyone to vote before we take any action. Hold on, everyone, hold on. I'm not going to make the decision. No executive decisions made today. Let's go down the votes and go from there. And I think then leaders go to the other extreme. And it's just, that's just another stall. That's another friction point. It's sometimes as the leader, you need to know when you need to enter the room. You got all the data, to your point, the best available data. And let's rock. And I remember, speaking of lifetime, Bahram Makrati told me this. We were looking at a pickleball court, believe it or not. He's drawing it, of course he is, and he's doing his blueprints and all of that. And he said, Albert, there's two decisions that you're going to make as a leader. One needs to be mathematically precise. There is no room for error. So you better have the best data, because if there's any room, if there's any little error, think of the rocket ship, it explodes. That's one of those where you do not say, we're going to live in the gray and we'll adjust and iterate later on. So it's mathematically precise. The other decision is you need to just go and you're going to figure it out along the way on how to iterate, right? I think there's some books that will say fail fast, right. Iterate, clean it up, tighten it up, but keep going and keep going that direction. If that's the direction, based on the available data, that's the likely right move that you need to go in that direction. And so my fear is, as everyone's listening to Kip and I chat, is it's not saying don't make a decision, but don't be the only decision maker, right? You still have other people around you that can move and take action because they're empowered to. Yeah, maybe there's some governance, but also don't wait for everyone else to come up with the answer. And I mean, we're talking weeks and months, like, this is right now, especially how fast business is moving. So I appreciate you saying that the consensus piece can actually paralyze the organization as well. Everyone's trying to figure out, you good? Are you good? That's just not a good place to be in. And, I love that we're bringing up books, but one of the ones that makes me think of this is Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions, right? And that second one is, fear of conflict, right? After you get through the vulnerability and trust, is fear of conflict. That doesn't mean that it needs to be a consensus. It means, hey, everyone get the data in there. Everyone speak your part. But the leader is going to make the decision at the end of the day. We have to move. So I love that some of these activities, and you'll see it in that book too, is time bound. Got it. Get it all out. Get it off your chest, as I like to say. Get it off your chest. Get it on the table. Good. That doesn't mean it's going to be the decision, but I want to hear your voice. All right, let's move and make the decision. I love that book. I'm a big fan of
so good. I love him.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, what have you found, like, as you're consulting organizations? You see that a lot where there's a lack of tension, lack of disagreement, or even argument on certain decisions?
100%. Yeah. And you need to create,
probably drives you nuts.
Yeah, right. You just need to create a culture where people feel empowered to disagree with each other and speak up. And I always do that, like, internally with us. I'm like, we're talking about something, and even though our team knows that, I just say it over again. You can say whatever. Tell us all what you really think. My ideas I don't think are the best. No, there's no sacred cows. Like, let's speak up. Let's disagree. Let's debate things. It's not personal. Don't take it personally, but like, let's debate these ideas. And frankly, I think this is what we need to do in America. Like, let's debate ideas instead of,
oh my goodness,
attacking everybody. Like, it's okay to disagree. That's what our country's founded on.
Right.
Disagreement, and then we'll come together and make a decision and move forward, and maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, and you can iterate and pivot. But like, you need to create an environment where people can speak up and disagree, and then once we made the decision, move on.
That's right. Yeah, I love that.
It's like Steph Curry shooting 3-pointers, and like, if he's missing, you just keep shooting, or forget about the last one. You keep shooting, and then finally they start coming in, and then he's got momentum, and he's, maybe he didn't score a point in the first quarter, or the first 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter, it's like 30 points. It's like, just got to keep shooting, and like, forget about last moment, forget about yesterday, and just focus on now and move forward.
I'm not a fan of Golden State, but I got to tell you, they're not only impressive. I think he'll go down in history as one of the most underrated players of all time.
Which is shocking because he's so good.
He's so good, like ultra good. It's insane. I mean, I always think, like, his eyes and his brain from a physics perspective just understand. I don't think it's just muscle memory. I truly believe, like, it's his vision and his brain just clicking. His whole body's just
Yeah.
It's just amazing it's just, it's perfect. It's
I
almost
know.
perfect. It's so good.
And I'm
Well,
lucky here. I mean, like, we got we got we got Anthony Edwards, we got the second coming of Michael Jordan here. I
yeah.
mean, he is freaking amazing.
Oh, I love watching him.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in, like, the Jordan era, like, middle school and high school, and, like, that was I mean, I had all the Chicago stuff, and, like, I loved him, and that is Ant. I mean, he is the second coming.
Yeah. I could watch The Last Dance, like, every day, easy.
So
I'm
good.
just like I
So
still get
good.
emotional when Jordan's getting emotional. I'm like, that's
Yes.
just if you're a leader, you understand. Now, obviously, he's at a different level, but I think there's still that fundamental, like, you were kinda talking about it earlier, they just have that gear. You know, that leader who has that gear, you know how much you care. You know how much care, and you just see it
Yeah.
in that scene where he's hearing how about his team members, maybe, and I'm sure they make it a little grandiose and they probably wanted to put it on him to see how he'd respond. But like, yeah, they said you were rough. I'm like, he just got a little
Yeah.
emotional, but it was really good. I love that scene.
And where he's like, someone says something negative about him, then he goes and just absolutely dominates that person.
Yeah. Oh
And then
yeah.
the one where
He's a
the
killer.
guy didn't even get to say anything. He just created it in his own mind to motivate himself and just absolutely annihilated.
What
I
does
mean,
he
it's
call that? That reminded me of, oh,
gosh.
I forget the author who did the book on Steve Jobs, but how Steve Jobs would actually create this, like, his own reality, right? It's kind of like Jordan. It's like, okay, well, if I don't have an opponent, I'm going to create my own reality. And
Yes.
there is the opponent now. He may have not even said
Yeah.
anything in real life, but in my mind he did, because my body then goes into a different gear. But yeah, that was a good book too on Jobs, because he would do things like that people would say who worked with him. He is just living in a whole nother world. He'd create this alternate reality, but it made him keep going, and he made him create and made him look for the best people. So interesting. So
Yeah.
interesting. Well, just to be selfish here, and I know a lot of people watching too, there are some finance and AI executives, and there's this, like, I'm sure you hear it all the time, this wave of fractional. I'm obviously on the boat there. I've always called it the interim or consulting CFO, but it seems like the fraction of the cost, or whatever it is. I don't know, actually even know where that term came from, but it seems to be kind of hot off the presses right now in this gig CXO economy, right? Or gig economy in general. So as you're thinking about the CFO side, what do you look for when it comes to skill sets and non-negotiables, and you spend a lot of time with MA and private equity. What should the CFO know? And you talk receipts or just skill sets. What are some of the things you look for?
That's a great question. And I would say, I mean, CFO is probably arguably the number one search that we do for our clients. And it's interesting. CFOs come in all shapes and sizes. A company's definition of CEO can be vastly different. Sometimes they want just a truly strategic CFO and all they're doing is strategy. Sometimes they want a roll up your sleeve CFO that's actually doing the strategy, but actually doing the work too. Maybe they're doing CFO work, controller work. So in PE, it's usually a CFO that's got tons of M&A experience. And that's probably the most important thing when we're doing CFO work for private equity portfolio companies. Because usually we represent the PE firm, a company that's an expert in their area, and they're rolling up. I mean, it's a roll up. They're rolling up and acquiring all their competitors around the country and rolling it into one. Usually that's the strategy. I mean, I think the best, again, they come in all shapes and sizes and it's so nuanced, but someone that is an expert in finance and accounting, but can also speak in plain language, that's a good communicator, can talk with the executives, can talk with the team or the company, and can it's just like a chief technology officer. You have to be an expert in technology, understand everything, but you need to be able to speak in plain language and be able to communicate that to non-technologists or non-finance people. Like that's the rarest skill set.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing
Someone that's
this
very good
push
at their
into, like, finance and ops, but your ability to communicate financials both to a board of directors or private equity group, but also be able to speak to the operators in a language that is understandable, right? Or even
uh-huh.
that people can rally behind and be passionate about. That took years. That's something that I've worked on, and now that I spend a lot of time with other CFOs or in CFO groups like CFO Alliance or CFO Leadership Council, we chat a lot about that. Is you have to be able to get away from that computer and that Excel or back office and like get out there, understand the operational model, but be able to speak. I call it speak field, speak ops, speak marketing, right? And
Yeah.
so that's amazing. I'm glad thank you for sharing that. That's so good. Well,
And
if you could, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say, to your point, if the CFO can really understand the business, like if it's a manufacturing business, get out on the floor and understand the process and
Yeah.
how whatever it is manufactured, or if it's gyms or franchises, really understand the operations of the business. They can be so much better and so much more valuable as a CFO if they really understand the nuts and bolts of how the business actually makes money and works. It can make them so much better and be much more strategic as a CFO.
Well, this is so good, Kip. Thank you so much for your time, man. It's been I've been waiting quite a bit to land here and be able to chat with you. I've been following you for quite some time. The episodes you put out there are so thoughtful. So hopefully I met your expectations around an actual
You're
recording of
awesome.
a conversation. No, I'm going to keep learning from you, and thank you for your time. For those that want to work with you and work with your organization, learn more about the arena and KIP Search, or just you in general. I mean, you just seem to be the networker, the guy that people want to hang out with and learn from. Obviously well read. How can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so KIP Search, you can see the sign behind me. So that's the name of our
Nice.
business, and it's just kipsearch.com is our website. And for me, like it's Kip Knippel. You can see it right on the screen here, but it's EL for Knippel. But it's my name on all the social media platforms, so you can find me
Awesome.
there. Yeah, and we just want to add we talk about Simon Sinek and your why.
Yeah.
I mean, ours is we want to help organizations and individuals create abundance and impact. So we just really want to help companies create abundance, impact, in our capitalist free market society.
Mm.
And the same thing with candidates and people. We want to help people have fulfillment in their life and advance in their careers and just again, abundance, money, whatever that means, and impact and just have
Yeah.
purpose in life, especially in the age of AI. People still want to have impact and they want to have purpose in their life, and you want AI to take over everything.
Yeah.
If AI takes over everything and you're sitting back and you don't have to work, and again, I'm just painting a picture, you still want to have purpose in your life
Totally.
and you want to have impact. So how do we help people create that? Because that is like core to what it is to be human.
And I think there's this longing for and thirst for, and I can't wait. I mean, you're starting to see some of the speaking of the fitness and wellness space, but these communities where you're bringing people together, not just to work out, but actually to spend time and socialize. I mean, some are even focusing on dating, but just creating human connection, because we know where everything else is going. There's no stopping it. It's going that route, virtual, digital, right? AI and the DNA infrastructure. It's all happening. There's no getting around from it now.
Mhm.
But it's like, how do we come together in these, what you were talking about, discourse and having discernment and disagreeing or just having a conversation. In back in the days in Greek culture, it was the forum, right? Everyone would come together and the assembly. You
Yes.
come together to, whether there's little shopping carts or political discussions, like that's what we did. That was human. It was because we have language and we want to connect. And even if we disagree, but we were there to connect. I think that's coming in a big way. And I think there's a lot of people out there like you and I and some others that are really going to keep pressing that. It's such a pleasure to have you on, sir. This is great.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate this. This was so much fun, and
My
appreciate
pleasure.
everything that you're doing, and humbled that you even wanted me to come join you. So thank you.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Well, everyone, this has been another episode of the Owner Seat Podcast. I'm your host, Albert Ramos. And a reminder, these episodes go live, and you can find it on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of them every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. So we'll see you next time. Kip, thanks so much. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Albert. Appreciate you.
All right. Appreciate you too, brother.